So I just saw Sam Raimi's Send Help last night. I am probably always going to be behind in watching movies and doing reviews for them because it takes a lot to get me into theaters. I usually wait for them to come out on video on demand. It just takes a lot for me to get into a theater. A theater going experience is not super enjoyable. For me, it costs a lot of money, and this is not a video to bitch about the theater going experience, but just for future reference, most of my movie reviews for new things will probably be a little bit behind. Again, I usually wait till things come out on video on demand to watch them. So last night we watched Send Help, the new Sam Raimi movie with Rachel McAdams playing Linda Little and Dylan O'Brien playing Bradley Preston. So this is the They're Stranded on the Desert Island movie. And I had a shit ton of fun with this movie. It was a good time. I have a few criticisms which I'll mention later on, or I guess I can just get them out of the way now. My biggest criticism is that it feels a little long. I think that the middle part could have been cut 10 to 15 minutes, and while I enjoy all of the like survival porn that is being seen with all like the making their fort, getting foods, eating food, doing just like survival stuff, I do think that it does kind of overstay its welcome in the middle, and then it picks up at the climax. So I think within the middle part there could have been some fat trimmed, but that didn't like negate my enjoyment of the movie overall. It's just a minor criticism where, you know, I found myself saying like, okay, when is this shit gonna hit the actual fan? Because it's kind of dragging, and I want something more to happen. But outside of that, I thought it was an entirely fun movie. It is the Sam Raimi movie. It has all of the Sam Raimi stuff that you see in movies like Drag Me to Hell, Evil Dead. So you got over-the-top gore. There's goop and body fluids everywhere. For a content warning, there is a elongated scene of Rachel McAdams trying to do CPR on Dylan O'Brien's character, and she vomits in his face multiple times, which if you're someone who doesn't like vomit like Andrew, you'll find yourself gagging. He did gag during that scene. I was dying laughing. That was so funny. I love the over-the-top bodily goop and fluids and gore that you find in Sam Raimi movies. And it was a nice return to form because Drag Me to Hell had some of that, but not really because it was a PG-13. And this one just went balls to the walls with the blood, the gore, the blood spraying everywhere. Like when she's killing the boar scene, there's just blood spraying everywhere. The snot and the spit and the vomit. Again, Sam Raimi likes his body fluids. He's a fluids man. So what I like most about this movie is that this is clearly a movie about two people who are kind of shitty. And as the situation unravels more, their morality gets tested. And it's very perfectly clear that neither of these people like each other, but especially Bradley makes it very clear that he does not like Linda. Even from the first outset of the meeting in the office, he very clearly is disgusted by her very existence. So these are two people who clearly do not like each other. Again, Bradley makes it pretty clear in his first meeting of Linda in the office that he does not like her because he sees her as gross and unhygienic. You know, he fixates on the clump of tuna fish on her lip when talking to her, and they do a good job dressing down Rachel McAdams to make her like this ugly frumpy bird lady where she has like greasy hair and her lips are all chapped and she has like a bad posture and her clothes are just like not good. They're ugly, and her skin is also not very good. So they do a good job dressing down a normally very beautiful woman to make her look nasty. So the big culmination of Linda's hatred towards Bradley is that he passes over her for a promotion, even though she's been at the company for 7 years, and his father, who had recently passed, had promised it to her for his frat bro douchey friend who has only been there 6 months, and who we see right in the beginning of the movie taking credit for Linda's work in front of the executive committee. So it's stated very clearly that Linda is kind of like the workhorse, which pays off later on the island where she's doing all the work, essentially, where she's a workhorse and they put all this work on her. And that is more than likely why Bradley's dad had promised her the vice president promotion when he ultimately stepped away from the company. And in this case, he passed away. Only to be usurped by this douchey frat bro who's been there less time than she has, isn't nearly as smart as she is. She's said to be kind of like a savant, like with numbers. She's very heavily autistic coded, from her mannerisms to the obsession with survival and survivor, which is shown in kind of like background shots with all the books. And she literally watches Survivor with her bird. So yes, very coded for that type of like autistic fixation on something. So she gets passed over for the promotion, and that pisses her off rightfully. And this is, I think, the first kind of scene of some of the themes of this movie are like not taking kindness for weakness, and that monsters are not born, they're made. So both of these characters are heavily unlikable, and their morality is definitely tested and unwinds as it goes on. You know, Linda is not someone who is set up really for being a direct murderer, but she does end up killing the tour guide and the fiancé out of desperation to maintain control of the situation she's in with Bradley, where she has absolute power over him as a reverse of their original lives. So the other side is that it's very clearly set up that both of these characters, they have a literal conversation about it, is that both of these characters were heavily abused in the past, and that's why for Linda's case, she's kind of a nervous wreck, very clearly unkempt, has a lot of baggage, and Bradley's just an asshole because of the way that he was raised, with no love or warmth. They're both meant to be complex characters who do bad things. I don't think you're supposed to really root for either of them, but I was rooting for Linda because I've been there, office girl who gets passed over for promotions, who people treat badly, all that kind of stuff, and it's soul crushing. She's doing all the work and all the men are taking credit for it. I think that was especially obvious in the plane scene where she's putting together the contract for the merger and the men are watching her Survivor audition tape and laughing at her, and she realizes that and then she deletes it. So this is the first theme of not taking kindness for weakness. She makes a decision to not do what she thinks is the right thing to do, and she deletes the merger. That would have helped all these men as well. This movie is very funny. I was dying laughing during it. This is a horror thriller movie, but it had kind of a weird rom-com angle to it, right in the middle where they're huddling in the cave, and of course Rachel McAdams now is this gorgeous island bombshell who's Survivor baddie, and it's a will they won't they kind of. I kind of fell for it. And at the end where Bradley is oh, I love you. You showed me how amazing and wonderful you are, and I love you so much. I kind of was hoping that they would get together at the end. I don't know. It twisted the ending, power couple extreme, trauma bonded after their big bloody ass fight. It just would have been funny. I like the ending anyway, where Linda ends up on top. It's implied that she kills Bradley with the golf club, and now she's the survivor extraordinaire who writes books and movies, and she's a millionaire, and she's just thriving. She climbed the corporate ladder. One of the other themes I forgot to mention is this is very climbing the corporate ladder in any way, shape, or form. So another really good scene that got me was the castration scene with the rat. That was incredibly horrifying, and Rachel McAdams should play more crazy women roles need to be given to Rachel McAdams, because that got me. I thought she was actually gonna cut his dick off. That was hilarious, where she picks up the rat and she's next time it will not be a rat. That gave me chills. Ooh, and I don't even have a dick. So the movie is, you're not supposed to really root for either of these people. Ultimately, I think you'll end up rooting for Linda. It's kind of like Midsummer. It's the good for her, but the her is not pristine heroine, which I like, because a lot of the time people cannot write women characters because they write them as either loving or nurturing or soft, and Linda is clearly not soft. She's calculating and strategic. That's why she works in planning and strategy, which is very highlighted throughout the movie, where she's always kind of 5 steps ahead of the Nepo baby Bradley, who is just kind of fell into his position of power in the company and wealth just by virtue of being born from the right ball sack. It's shown that she is calculating. So Linda is not like the good-hearted, natured woman. She is shown to be selfish. She ultimately is shown that as her morality unwinds on the island, to maintain control of the situation, she will not call for help for a boat. She'll murder somebody in cold blood, and ultimately she does murder Bradley to get ahead. So I like that she's a very flawed character, and you can see where all of like the culmination of things leads up to her decision, and that's why I like that she ends up on top at the end. It's kind of poetic, I suppose. And Bradley like deserves it because he's like a fucking asshole the entire time. This girl's nursing him back to health after he washes up on shore, and he's like, "You stink and get away from me." And he's like, "I'm your boss, don't forget." Like, bro, we're not even in the office anymore, which like, she literally says. It's like, "We're not in the office anymore, you're not my boss. Fuck off. You need me more than I need you." He's like a douchebag. And I thought another hilarious scene was when she leaves for like a night and he's like having a panic attack, and the time lapse of him like going through the emotions is hilarious. And again, he deserves it because he's just like an asshole. And he's not like, it's not like he stops being an asshole after that moment. Again, these characters clearly do not like each other. They hate each other. But they're in an unfortunate situation where not liking each other begets the need for survival. Like, it's not as important. It's not the important piece of thing that's happening to them. They need to work together to survive. But he does try to backstab her a few times, and she's far more kind than she needs to be. You know, he goes to leave. He's like, "I don't need you. I'm going to fire you. You're fired. You're useless and gross." Then he tries to go build his own shelter. It fails. He comes back like a little whimpering dog. And then he tries to not poison her, but knock her unconscious so he can escape. And she still like saves him. And then that's when the castration scene fake out happens, which is hilarious. And I understand that Linda is like keeping them there intentionally to maintain control. And that, like, Bradley being, like, suspicious of her is not unusual. He is kind of stupid, though, because her, like, reasoning for not going to a part of the island is, I mean, at least to me, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Poison vines? Like, what? It's very obvious what is gonna happen. This movie is not trying to, like, pull any crazy twist, I don't think. It's very open about what it is. Like, it was either gonna be a resort or a village or what ended up being a mansion, which is clearly where she gets like a lot of her fruit from. I remember Andrew was like, "What tropical island is this? There's all this fruit that's just like there." And I was thinking like, well, it's in Thailand, so maybe. But then like ultimately she's taking it from the mansion that is on the bad side of the island. I did feel a little personally attacked when she was like to Bradley, "How would a knife wash up on the beach?" Because to me, it sounded weird at the time because like obviously a knife would sink. But this is also a movie, so like movie logic, like you can suspend your disbelief a little bit for a movie. It's kind of like the whole point of it. This was just a fun time. I highly recommend watching it. This is a movie for the girls, I think, especially like the girls who are mad at society and patriarchy, because our girl gets a W at the end, and I liked seeing that. It was nice. So I recommend watching this movie. Again, my major complaint is that it just feels a little bit long, but that's just a me thing. And I know Andrew also said it felt kind of long in the middle, but it doesn't like drag the movie down to being unenjoyable. It's a fun time. So make sure you like and comment and subscribe.